Morning, Victorians. Nice. You're very polite down here. It's great. Did we let anyone from New South Wales in? Yes. Thank you, Victorians, for letting us in. You have different football, better coffee, slightly worse weather, maybe, but your city is awesome. I always enjoy the drive from the airport with all those sculptures on the freeway. And sometimes I think an air hostess had slipped psychedelic drugs into my food on the plane on the way down here, because it's crazy. Melbourne is beautiful. It's wonderful. Have you ever thought about what makes the world that we live in the way that it is? I think about it all the time because I'm weird like that. What makes Murray the way he is? Nobody knows. But Murray is my very good friend, and he's going to be a host for today. He's got a whole bunch of activities that I'll get into in a second that are going to make today incredibly awesome. But my job today is to set some of the ideas up that are going to be themes throughout today. And the big one we're here to talk about is leadership, obviously. But I decided that today I was going to do something a little bit different and come at this in a little different way, because today I'm going to talk to you about nothing. Let me tell you why you love the title of this talk. It's because this evening you are going to have a potentially annoying conversation with your parents. And when you get home, you're going to walk in the door and they're going to be like, oh, wow, you went to that young leaders thing today. You know, how was it? What did you learn? What did you learn about leadership? It was obviously, you know, something important. You took the day off school. Was it really good? And what did they talk about? And for the first time in your young life, you are going to be able to look at them with a straight face and say, nothing. And so that is my first gift to you today. But nothing is very important. You know, nothing is something that I am an expert on. I have been studying nothing for a long time, and quite seriously. The only reason I think I'm qualified to stand up here and talk to you today is for about 10 years now, I've been learning about all the things I don't know about leadership. Like for 10 years, it's kind of been my job to learn about leadership. And before then, I was doing it in a lot of different ways. But I can tell you right now, I could stand here for another 10 years and not tell you everything there is to know about leadership. So today isn't going to make you a leader. It's not going to qualify you. We're going to give you a certificate to say you've been here, but that's for you to remember today by. But it's not going to make you a leader. There's lots of different ways you can become a leader. But what do I mean when I say that? You know, that's not my idea. This idea about leadership and the idea about what you do and don't know has been around for a very long time. Just get the academic bit of today out of the way. Socrates said, I appear to be wiser because I do not fancy I know what I do not know. Does anybody watch the show Parks and Recreation? There's a character on that show. His name is Ron Swanson. Who knows him? Okay, Ron, or Nick Offerman, said that in his own words, and I kind of prefer it that way. He said you need to always retain the attitude of a student. If you have the mind that says, listen, I know I don't know everything about this and I'm keen to learn whatever you have to teach me, then you'll always have a great time at things like this. But getting back to nothing, okay, I kind of need to get on with this because it's very, very important. Nothing to me is a temporal space where something can exist. Right now you're kind of like, thank you, Mike. Thank you for that long philosophical introduction. What the heck does it mean? Let me show you. All right. So let's just imagine this bit of space right here. Now, between my hands, there's currently nothing. If you want to be actually scientifically correct, there's a whole bunch of air molecules. If you want to be more philosophical about it, then there's probably a whole lot of Murray's amazing aura of leadership there, so we'll just get rid of that. But right now, there is nothing in that space there. Are you ready? I'm going to fix it. This is the bit where you clap. Stupid, I know. But this is kind of the thing. Our theme today is all about the things that don't exist. Let me tell you personally what nothing feels like to me, because there's stacks of nothing all around us. There are things that don't exist. So how does it feel when things don't exist in your life? It kind of feels like when you're broke, your family doesn't have enough money. It kind of feels like when you get dumped out of a relationship with someone significant. It kind of feels like when you find out about some problem with the world that's going to make it a very difficult place to live, as time goes on. It's kind of what it feels like when academically you're really struggling. You don't know if you're going to be able to get the marks you need to do what you want to do. It kind of feels like when you don't really know what you're going to do with your life, when everybody's expecting that you should know right now. Has anybody ever felt that kind of nothing before? Okay, cool. If there's any of you that have felt that, this might help you. Okay, because I think leaders are really important people. All right, but leaders aren't one kind of people. To me, the definition of leadership is really, really broad. This is my whole talk today, and if you're going to take notes, that's pretty much everything you need to take notes on today. Leaders are people who use their influence to turn nothing into something. Okay, if you go somewhere and somebody follows you, if you say something and somebody listens to you, if you do something other people copy you, then you have influence over them, and like it or not, know it or not, you are a leader. Some of you have badges on your uniform. Your school has given you a position of leadership. That's great for you. I'm really, really pumped. The badge helps you feel the influence that you have. But the badge isn't what makes you a leader. The influence that you have over other people is what makes you a leader. How you use that influence, how good you are at exercising it on the world, determines whether or not you're going to stay as a leader. Okay, so let's get into this idea of how you turn magically nothing into something. Step one is ideas. You need to have an idea. Has anybody had a unique idea, something they've wanted to do, something they've wanted to start? Yeah, cool. Okay, I have. Ideas are kind of like your kids. Here are my kids. I put this photo up because I lost a bet and I promised that I would honour it. This is a photo of me and my daughters. We went to the Maritime Museum one day, a random day when the Viking exhibition happened to be on. Who likes Vikings? You can see who the most enthusiastic person in that photo is. It's not the young ones, it's me. Okay, your ideas are kind of like your kids. When you first have them, they're awesome, they're great. You know what, you feel like you're really enthused about having them. They're awesome, they're your kids. And you want them to grow up to become something. But a lot of people don't really know how to do that. Having kids and having ideas is difficult. It's hard. And you know what? There are some people who actually can't even have their own ideas. They can't even have, just like some people can't have kids. You know what? And that's okay too. Everybody, if they want to be in our society, just about, can be a parent. You can adopt kids. You can also adopt ideas. You can choose to have your own and choose to raise your own. You might give your ideas to other people, but the point is, no matter who you are as a parent or who you are as a person who has ideas, you don't have to do that on your own. If you really want to raise a functional idea that becomes something, or you want to raise a kid, then you're going to have to share it with other people. I send my kids to school where teachers teach them what they need to know to be a good part of our society. Your ideas might need to be shared with other people. You know what? It's very important that you help your ideas grow up. Okay, when you first get them, they'll be in a very raw form. They'll be really needy. They'll be really incomplete. And what you do with your ideas helps them to grow up and become something. We've got an exercise later on this morning, and we've got a film crew here that are available, if you want to, for you to go and record the ideas that you have to make the world different. Okay, we call that project 10,000 Ideas. Murray will tell you a bit more about it later, but it's awesome. Now, some people take their ideas, and because they need help with the next step, they do weird things to them, like this. There are certain people in our society, to get other people to like their ideas, they dress them up, they advertise them, they put them in weird settings, doing weird things. And you know what? It kind of looks like Honey Boo Boo. It's kind of gross. Do you know what we call that process? Politics. Process of taking an idea and making it look more than it is, sooner than it needs to be, in order to get other people to help you with it. Okay, so do not dress up your ideas, grow them up, be good to them, share them with other people, and then your idea has a chance. Okay, so in this process that we're going through, which is a very big process, we've come to a point in that process which is about halfway in turning nothing into something. And this line that I'm going to show you right now is the line that I think divides 99%, and I'm not even making that up, 99% of the ideas, the good ideas that I had in the world, and the 1% that actually become something. And that line is called getting started. Getting started is the line between having a good idea and doing the work that you need to make that idea real. Getting started, a lot of people, and hopefully a lot of the people you're going to see today, is the thing that makes the difference between doing your idea and it just remaining inside your head. And everybody who's a cool leader that I know has had this moment where they have had to decide to get started. And we're focusing on that part of the process today. What does it take just to get started? You know what? The next thing that comes after getting started is hard, and that's probably why a lot of people don't choose to cross it. And it's work. You need to do all of the stuff that needs to be done to make your idea real in the world. It's going to take time, might take money. It's going to take, your Saturdays, maybe your evenings. But you know what? If you're passionate about your ideas, it won't be a problem. Okay, but that's not all there is to this process. Okay, sometimes after you do all the work that's required to turn your idea into something, it does end in success. It ends in it becoming something. Okay, but quite often, more often, your work will end up in failure. And I'm not even kidding about that either. About another 80–90% of all the really great ideas that are going to be worked on ultimately won't come to fruition. Okay, so we're at the really depressing part of the talk where the speaker's telling us how many of our dreams might not come true. Okay, that's not the whole story. Remember the theme of today. Nothing amazing, enduring, okay, long-lasting, ever started out that way. Do you know why a lot of the amazing things in our world started lame and ended up strong? It's because a lot of the people making those ideas real failed, and failed a lot. Failure often leads you back to nothing. And you know what? Nobody actually likes to talk about failure. And there's probably a few different reasons for that. I've speculated on it a lot. Why doesn't anyone talk about the stuff that they screw up? To me, some of my failures are the most precious things in the world to me. And I think the reason that people don't like to talk about failure is because there's a bit of shame attached to it. Oh, you failed. You're such a loser. I can't believe that idea that you put all that time and effort into didn't come off. My mum famously said to us when we were starting Halogen, who's going to come to that leadership conference? Well, Mum, there's 1,000 people here, and it's kind of 10 years. It's actually 17 years since you said that, and it's still going. So, you know what? Sometimes the people closest to you will tell you that you might fail. And they do that because they're scared, and maybe because they love you. You know what? But it happens really, really often. You need to be prepared for that. Okay, but there seems to be some shame attached to failure, but you know what? If you're going to succeed, you're going to need to shake that shame off, and you're going to need to do it anyway. You know what? One of the worst places to try and find failure on, except if it's a fail video, is the internet. You know what? Nobody posts about the time they really screwed up. Everybody, it seems nowadays, really wants to seem like they have everything together. You know, that they're incredible. You know, no one, well, some of my friends do because they're weird. No one posts themselves looking a bit fat or a bit strange, you know, or the bad food they ate on Instagram. No, they take photographs of the beautifully, perfectly formed latte, you know, with some art on top that they're drinking. You know, we tend to focus on what's awesome about our life and not about the stuff that's bad. You know what? Failure is very, very important, and today, a lot of people who are standing on top of something in their life are standing on top of not just something, but a whole lot of nothing that they've conquered, a whole lot of failure that's made them who they are. You know, in our world today, there is stacks and stacks of nothing. You know, you guys know a little bit about it from your own world. You know it in school. You know, there are times when you're bored, times when you're dumped, times when you can't get the marks you need, times when you can see the people around you and in the wider world suffering really badly. You know, there's some really big problems that you guys are going to have to solve as a generation. I don't want to go old man on you. You know what? There were a lot of problems for every generation growing up. Ask your teachers. The problems were just different. But here's the thing about nothing. When you're young, there's stacks of gaps in your life. There's stacks of things that haven't happened yet. There's stacks of things that you don't know, that you're not good at. But you know what? That's not a disability. When you're young, the nothing in your life is actually your superpower. That's the thing that you have over every adult around you. Because you haven't made choices, you haven't studied courses, you haven't spent the time you've got on planet Earth yet. It's still in your back pocket. And you can choose how you want to apply your influence on the world around you because you haven't done it yet. You know what? In this room, there are some of us that are going to go on to be amazing. There are some of us that are going to go on to become parents. There are some of us that might go on to become teachers. There are some of us that might not make it past the end of school. Statistically in this room, some of us might not make it towards the end of school. You might have an accident, anything could happen. Do you know what? But some of you might be prime ministers, some of you might be movie stars. All of you, I don't care where you're from. I don't care what family you grew up in. I don't care how you feel about yourself right now. All of you are leaders and people who can change the nothing in your own life and the lives around you into something. How do I know that? Well, you know what? I can prove it. Later on today, we're going to tell you about a school in South Australia called Woodville, okay, who won this year's inaugural Atlas Award. And they turned the nothing in their life into something, and the whole of Australia turned to watch them doing it. You know what? And for 10 years, I've watched students like you in as little as 1 year achieve amazing things in leadership while they're at school. From country schools, from city schools, from well-off schools, from not so well-off schools. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from. All of you, if you want to, are capable of turning nothing into something.